days ago, President Obama pleaded with several reporters, hey, it's only been a week. True, but seems like a perfect opportunity to talk with the Michigan leaders who voted for and against the landmark package. I'm delighted to have with me this morning 4 of Michigan's congressional representatives from the 15th District, John Dingell, the Dean of the U.S. House. From the 12th District, Senator Levin, our first chance to congratulate you on becoming chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And over on the Republican side of the table from the 11th District, McCotter is back with us, and from the 10th District, Candace Miller. Thank you all very much. I'm thrilled to be able to pull this all together, your coverage. On and on and on. I don't hear too many Republicans generally arguing against any of those components. Your biggest problem with this package was what?
Well, I think, as Candace said, it's not a Burkean approach. It's more like Rousseau. The legislator enforces his will upon the populace, whether they like it or not, to recreate their society. This is a radical redistribution of health care. The American people, after watching and hearing...
A redistribution of health care?
Of health care. This is what's happening in the country.
Redistributed?
When you're taking 30-some million new people within the existing paradigm that you have for health care in this country, when you're funding it with $500 billion in cuts in Medicare to try to put them in other places, and you start to mandate on the American people whether they're going to have health insurance or not. This is a redistribution.
The idea that there's only so much to go around.
Also in the bill you have things which actually was in the stimulus, the Federal Coordinating Council on Comparative Effectiveness Research, which now measures life years in terms of your cost to the government and what type of care you can get. The Independent Payments Advisory Board, which will tell Congress, we can vote it up or down, but they will make the recommendations as to what is paid for or is not paid for. So fundamentally, I think what we see is an approach to big government that the public did not want, the inability to forge a consensus even within the Democratic Party itself, because 30-some members voted with us against the bill. And instead of focusing on the things that are talked about that are in the bill that the public wants, what we don't hear about are the things such as the massive tax increases. These are the things that cause the opposition to the bill. And fundamentally, the principle that somehow your life has a cost to the government then has the power over you to try to control, it strikes me as something I can't support.
Let's ask that. Congressman McCotter, first off, how do you feel about these attorneys general, including the Attorney General of Michigan, who have joined in this effort to repeal the package?
Well, I think they've been entrusted with their responsibilities at the state level, and they're defending their state's interests against a bill they think are detrimental to it. So I think they're doing their job. In terms of what we want to do is we want to repeal and improve those parts which are detrimental. You can start with the $500 billion cuts to Medicare. You can talk with the employer mandates that go on to the companies that we've already seen talking about potentially dropping the retirees' health care that they already get from their employer due to this. I, as someone who ran against taxing employer-provided benefits, would like to repeal the 2018 tax on employer-provided benefits, ads of which I heard endlessly all of 2008 from the UAW and CAP, and to continue. What you have to look at is the totality of the bill. They're talking about some of the things they did. One of the things I think a new Republican Congress, or Congress, even with the Democratic majority that would agree, was not to continue funding the Federal Coordinating Council for Comparative Effectiveness Research to the tune of $1 billion a year, to restore the congressional ability to make their decisions on health care as opposed to kicking it to an independent advisory payments board.
All right, Congressman, let me jump in.
Cuts in Medicare.
Delegation, Congressman McCotter, wanted to give you the first chance there as we came back.
Well, two things. First, on the subsidy, that was done under Medicare Part D so that employers did not dump retirees that had employer-provided benefits into the government system. And the cost of that subsidy is actually less than having people put into the entirety of the government system. I think it's $233 versus $1,600 for the subsidy. Secondly, when you look at what other nations have done in terms of their health or universal insurance, even the Liberal Party of Canada says they have to cut Medicare or their health care spending by 7%, that is going out of control. Even places that have done this for quite some time, like Canada.
Why do you raise Canada when this is a system built on our present private insurance in addition to Medicare, Medicaid? Why do you raise the image of Canada?
Because the goal of universal coverage, this is not built on the existing system and maybe layered over the American people, but what you're doing by individual mandates on people, the mandates on employers and everyone else, is an expansion of the government's power and control over not only the employers, but yes, over the individual. And the goal of reducing costs, which is always used by Canada to show how often it has made a difference in the cost of a car, was brought forward, not by me, but by the chairman.
First of all, to afford support it. That's what this is all about.
Congressman McCotter, I got about 30 seconds left. How frustrated or concerned are you that this has been created such it's exposed how polarized we are?
Well, according to Rasmussen polls, 71% of the country thinks government is a special interest. I think this reinforces that. It undermines their confidence in representative institutions, and it further threatens their understanding that we are servants of the people, not the rulers.
Okay, I got to go. Thank you.